Hello and welcome to Module 5. I'm so excited. The whole week's been building up to today. And when we're becoming and embarking on this journey of abundance, we've got to cast aside the shackles of our fears and all that unconscious programming that's been woven into our very being. And in the previous modules, we've delved into the essence of abundance and how to cultivate it. We've explored the power of gratitude and the importance of joy and fun in our lives, and the necessity for making space for new opportunities to arise. And by embracing all these concepts, we've taken the first steps on our journey towards abundance. Yet to truly unlock the magic of abundance, we've really got to cultivate that mindset. And this means making really clear choices and staying in emotional alignment with where we want to be. And we've got 5 steps to guide us on our path towards abundance. So I want you to think about embarking on this journey with a little bit of introspection with these prompts. And I'm just going to go through these before we move on to all the steps. And I want you to think about this. If your fears and worries were granted the gift of speech, what secrets would they share with you? Where do these fears and worries arise that are lurking within your being? Where did they come from? And as you reflect upon the dread and the unease that weighs heavily in your heart, let's dive and delve deeper into the essence of these fears and worries. Let's ask ourselves the question: do they serve a purpose? Do they protect you from harm? And then ask yourself, what would life be like if I was free from these fears and worries? Who would I be? And what would my life look like? So I just want you to ponder that and think about it. And stop this recording and then restart it when you've written something down. What is that dread? What is that fear? What's that worry that always lurks around, skulks around? So how did you go with that? Did you find out, as we've been going through all these different modules, that there were these fears there? And in module 1 on step 5, we touched on structure and the need to be in the correct structure to create that which we desire. So let's dive a little deeper into that here. When we want or need to have that job, that relationship, that money, that right weight, that house, that car, we're always coming from that place of lack. And we're working from the wrong structure. We're working from scarcity and victim mode, and we're giving our power over to someone or something as we try to heal or fix the situation. We're always trying to fix it. So we've got to have that job. I need it. I need it so I can pay the bills. And over the last 4 modules, we have started to learn the alchemy of creation and made the start to shift identity out of our old structure of scarcity, struggle, survival, sabotage, and searching into a totally new, for some of us, understanding of abundance. So let's start right at the beginning. We were born as creative spirit. Now I'll do this on the board for you. So here we were, here we're born. We're born in wonder. We're born in innocence. We're born to learn, to grow. And we do learn to grow because we learn to walk, we learn to talk, we learn to dress ourselves, we learn to eat. But along that way, we get wounded. We start to realize that we can't have everything that we want. We start to realize, and we do that by absorbing what's around us. During that first 40 years of our life, we learn how life was or how life is. And so we have a limited perspective of the world. And so we orientate the world through this limitation. And we create our life to serve our limitations. And so we oscillate between what we want to create and what our limitations allow. And so we grow up, we go to work, and for some of us, we're always searching. And we search. Because it's got to be better. Things have got to be better, surely. And we see all these courses, we see all these things. But we refuse the call. We refuse that call. And so, we stay stuck. And then something happens to us. Something happens that an accident, an injury, a death. And so then we decide to find something to help us change. And we go down all these different paths. We try all these different concepts. We do all these different tools. And we meet all these different mentors. And we decide, if you like, and I'm going to do this crooked, that there's a threshold that we don't want to put up with the stuckness, the oscillation, the challenges anymore. And then as we do that, and we go and do self-development, personal development, do all these courses and these trainings and learn tapping, EFT, NLP, all these other programs, we start to realize that life can be different. And then we have to face our egoic agenda. We have to face our inner child. And we get all these different trials, tests, to see how committed we are to changing. And then we go through the dark night of the soul, if you like, for want of a better name. That's our shadow self. And we face it. We face our fears. We face the stories. We face the judgments that we have of ourselves. And if we're lucky, and I'm using that in a really broad sense, then we shift into a new identity. Now, with the work that I do, I help people shift. I help them release the pain and trauma so that they keep the wisdom, the knowledge, and the understandings. So here we have the wisdom, the knowledge. You have understanding. intuition. And so you get here, and then you go from here to here, and then the next part of the journey is we elevate ourselves into a new identity. We start to go, wow, this is who I am now. And as we discussed in the previous modules, you let go of negative people. You let go and declutter not only your house, your mind, your friends. And we have gratitude. And as we elevate into that new identity, we learn to love ourselves. And we start to realize that we have these different aspects. We have a superconscious, if I can spell. We have an unconscious or a subconscious, and we have a self-conscious, which is our ego, which is our identity. It's not about being conscious of self, about being self-conscious as using it in a way that if you're an introvert, you get very self-conscious and you don't want to be seen. I'm using it in the sense that we're conscious of ourselves. And so we refuse then. We're never going to go back to here because we realize that here we become a master of two worlds. We have special knowledge. We learn in this part of the thing how to be a conscious creator. We learn that we can create the life that we want. Doesn't mean that we can create world peace because everyone has to want to create it. We can be master of our own world. We can be master and live in the third dimensional world. And we can live in our own fifth dimensional world where we're connected to all parts of ourselves. And we become a superconscious creator, a conscious creator. And we can create magic for ourselves because we've shifted our identity. And not only does it shift for us, it affects the DNA and it affects the family and those around us. And sometimes you can be the first one in your whole lineage to be abundant. But we all have the ability to create and live the life how we design it and co-create with other people. And so then you start on the next journey and you go around again for the next level about what you want to create. Excuse me, I'm coughing from the vapors off the whiteboard marker. So neuroscience, philosophy, metaphysics all agree that we have many fields of information in and around us. And the most basic way when it comes to understanding who we are comes down to three classifications of energy that make the most sense, very broad concepts. And so I said we have our self-conscious, our unconscious, subconscious, and our superconscious fields. And so as I just wrote, which was very brief, wasn't it, that our self-conscious is also known as our ego or our ID, our id, our identity. And our self-conscious part defines itself, that's our mind, through awareness of our body, through awareness of the environment, So we're both conscious of the world around us, the features, the colors, the sounds, the objects, the activities, as well as ourselves and our personal existence. We might recognize our character traits. We might look at ourselves and our thoughts and feelings and know that we're a loving person, or knowing that we're angry or frustrated, or we acknowledge all those things. So we're conscious of ourselves as an individual, and we're conscious of our own thoughts, feelings, and actions, and it's really subjective. And our conscious self is always present, and it's always about today, and its goal is to live the best life possible. And the conscious mind has the power to intend or to choose, which makes it extremely powerful, as the power of conscious choice stabilizes the power of creation. And what that means is that life is continually happening with new ideas, new concepts, new relationships, feelings, possibilities. But choice is a function of a mindful will, and it's a function of focus. And so when we isolate a specific possibility out of a field of infinite possibilities, we begin to stabilize that in our field. And we then gain empowered choice by isolating a frequency of potential and removing it from the herd of all other possibilities as it begins the process of bringing it into being. So it sounds really complex, doesn't it? But very simply, we as an animal are the only animal that can do that. So we can use our mind, we can pick a choice out of the field of choices we could have in the whole planet. We can focus on that choice and create it. And neuroscience has shown that once we focus on what we want to create, then our unconscious or subconscious and our superconscious start to bring it into being. So let's talk about our unconscious or subconscious. Our subconscious defines itself through feelings. So it creates programs and runs the body through automation. Let's face it, you don't have to think to breathe. And it's the past. So while your conscious mind is the present, your unconscious mind is the past. And it's very subjective. And its goal is to keep the system going. And it desires to continue what it thinks works to keep you alive and safe. No matter how painful or unsafe it may be in the current time, that choice, that program was created, a contract, if you like, to keep you safe and alive at a particular point in your life, usually in the first 4 to 7 years of your life. And so now its role is to keep you safe and alive by the only way it knows how, no matter how painful that is now to the self-conscious. And so it's the unprocessed residue of thoughts, actions, and memories. So it's like a massive storage unit, like a massive computer of information, and it represents 95% of our programming. So when we live unconsciously, our unconscious is in charge of our attitude, our action, our behavior. It has memory, obviously, if it holds all that information, but it doesn't have the ability to consciously choose, but it can come up with unique and innovative ways to fashion and generate outcomes or realities based on the information that it's gathered and stored over its lifetime. So what does that mean? That means that you might think that you've resolved an issue, but when you come to something new, your beautiful unconscious goes through the memory banks, that computer program of your mind, and comes up with some new and unique way to take you back to its safe place. And don't you know that's so frustrating? And that's like, oh, I'm doing this a new way. And then all of a sudden you're back into the old ways. And that's all it means. So what about our superconscious? Our superconscious is defined as a higher level of awareness and is coded information that encompasses energy and consciousness. And it defines itself as a higher level. So you might want to call it your higher self, or you might want to call it divine intelligence, but its objective for you is for you to reach your fullest potential. It's objective and has unlimited knowledge. And as I said, it's connected to the intelligence of the divine. And we talk about it as the unified field or the quantum field or the mass consciousness of the planet, but it's so much more than that. At the level of the superconscious, you're the observer, and you become aware of the subjective nature of your thoughts, the ego, and feelings. Subconscious, the thoughts of the subconscious without being caught in the story, the emotions, the behavior of those parts. It speaks to you as intuition via the direct voice of the higher mind. And it accesses all the information in the unified field, the quantum field of all possibilities, and decides what instructions to give to the unconscious. The unconscious then takes all that information that's given and reproduces it. So the superconscious insight is the ability to connect to an inner vision of the future or the past, and to understand the instructions given to another individual, gaining insight from the field and turning ideas into reality. So what does that mean? What does that mean? So let me rub all this out. So here's our superconscious. Here's our unconscious. And here's our self-conscious. So they're all interconnected. And so when we give and get information from our superconscious, which is all information, it's objective. The unconscious is subjective. And our self is present time. That's a good time person. And when we're working normally and allowing our unconscious to control our life, it's doing it from a very subjective place. But when we utilize the objectivity of our superconscious, we can look at the subjectiveness of our unconscious and command it to change. And so we want to have clarity then about what we're doing. We want to have clarity about our choices. Because in that grand tapestry of existence, the three levels of consciousness dance in harmony, and they shape our perception of reality. And as we journey towards abundance, we've got to tread with care, for the choices we make hold the power to manifest our deepest desires. And our current reality is just a mere reflection of our beliefs and often stands in the way of our desired reality. Our unconscious, in its quest for safety, keeps us tethered to the familiar, hindering our quest for growth. And the key lies in the wording of our choices. And we must approach our choices from a place of abundance, as if we already possess that which we seek. We're not broken. We don't require fixing. Instead, we've got to focus on aligning ourselves with the right structure, identifying the sabotaging identities that lurk within us. And with this knowledge, we can harness our innate magic and shift our structure. So why don't we have what we want? And the reason we don't have what we want is because most of us are in a problem structure. We feel that we need to resolve beliefs about ourselves. We're out of emotional alignment with where we're going. And we have an identity conflict. We focus on actions, we're caught in past events, we're reactive, and we have a negative desire. And so look at it this way. Let me find my pen. So this is our choice. And it's our desired reality. So this is where we want to be. This is where we are now. This is our current reality. And we want to go here. But instead of going straight up to that point, we go from our current reality to a desired reality or a choice that we want, and we move towards it. But the pressure of that unconscious system that we have means that we come back to that desired reality, because our identity tells us that we have to stay safe and that we have to return to how it was. So when we talk about structure, every structure has integrity. So the structure that we're stuck in is a problem-solving structure. And that's a structure that we got from our families, from our society, from our culture. Whereas if our focus creates our reality and we're focused on problem solving, doesn't that mean we always have to have a problem to solve? Think about that. And so if our structure is like a rocking chair, we're going to oscillate. We're going to go like this. Here's our current reality. Here's where we want to be. So we're just going to go backwards and forwards. And every time we pick something that we want that's going to solve a problem, we're never going to get it, because we're always going between one or the other. And so cars have structure, buildings have structure, water has a structure, balloons have a structure. And so I want to talk about the 9 sabotaging identities that we all have that fall into this identity. And it's not good enough. I'm not going to fit them all in here. Not worthy, not capable. I'm insignificant. I'm not perfect. I don't belong. I don't know enough. I don't deserve it. And I'm not safe. So when we have all these, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and all the versions of them, because we create new versions, but they're the basic things, and all this is in your workbook. The choices that we make can be quite ineffectual. And so some of the ways we make choices is by limitation. So we choose, because we feel like we don't know enough, we might choose things only what seems possible or reasonable. That might be something. If we feel like we don't know enough, we're not capable, maybe we're just going to choose something that does seem possible. We choose by indirectness. So we choose a process instead of the result. Or we choose by elimination. So we eliminate other possibilities so that there's only one choice that remains that seems to fit with what we want to fix. Or we do choice by default, and that's not to make a choice. So that whatever results happen seem to occur without a choice, and all that's left is a reaction. And you see this a lot, don't you, in companies and businesses where they're reactive, or people that are reactive rather than being proactive. And sometimes we make choices by imposing preconditions on them. Like, when I have money, I will choose to be happy. Or we can make choices, again, this is similar to not making a choice, is a choice designed to overcome conflict. How am I going to make everyone happy? Or best one I love is when you go out for dinner and we choose by consensus, because we choose by finding out what everyone else is willing to recommend, and then we all eat the same thing, or we all follow what someone else wants. And that's not really what we really want, but it seems to be what everyone else wants. And the last one of this sort is choice by adverse possession. So this is based on a hazy metaphysical notion about the nature of the universe. And one of the things we've just discussed is, unless you choose, and you choose and work with your superconscious, those choices are not going to manifest in the world, because you haven't actually made a proper choice. Now, some of you might say that, oh yes, I don't have to, I just know the universe is going to provide it. But obviously you've made a choice, consciously and unconsciously. And at some point you've focused on it for it to start to manifest. And once you unravel the threads of your self-sabotaging identities, you unravel the mystery of your choices. So you have to look at your decisions, your choices, with a discerning eye, and ask the questions that reveal the truth. Am I just choosing this to address one of my identities, one of my beautiful sabotaging identities? Do my choices hold the power to affect change? Or are they just illusions? Is it really a heart choice? Or is it just a choice to fix something? Do I celebrate my choices if they're already fulfilled? Do I honor them and inscribe them and be grateful for them? And am I pursuing a true choice, a true goal, anchored in the acceptance of my desires? Or, as I said, am I merely seeking a solution to a problem? in essence, you must ask yourself, does my choice align with my deepest desires, with my deepest aspirations? And if it is yes, then it's how you word it, because you have to word it. And so the next step is step 2, is to create structural tension. And structural tension is great. So tension always seeks resolution. So if I have this rubber band, it's always want to go back into place. And it always takes the path of least resistance and is a basic principle found right throughout nature. So from the spider web to the human body, from the formation of galaxies to the shifts of continents, the swing of the pendulum, to the movement of wind-up toys, tension always seeks resolution, and tension resolution systems are in play. And the shifting of continents is the releasing of tension from the magma in the core of the earth. And so when you think about that, we're always in structural tension. And when we're talking about structural tension with our choices and being in abundance, we're deciding what's the best structure to create a life of abundance. So the term structure refers to a single thing with parts. These parts always have an impact upon each other, and a structure can look like a body, a chair, a song, a building, anything with individual parts that are working together. And we can have 3 types of structures. We can have a stuck structure, like a fence. We can have an oscillating structure, like I said, like a rocking chair. Or we can have a flowing structure, like a wheel that keeps going round. And they can all be made out of the same material, but move in different ways. And so our life-building process is also a structure that has 4 parts. We have our current identity, our current reality, the desired reality of where we want to go, an identity that we want to shift, and an action to take. And these are all the parts, no matter how you structure your life. We all do all of those things. So what's tension? So all the structures are held together by a magical force called tension, which pulls things into reality and creates the path of least resistance. So look at water. Water will always follow the path of least resistance. And when you, as I said, shoot an arrow or stretch the rubber band, it's always going to go back into the original structure. And it's always looking for equilibrium. And if it isn't, then there'll always be movement until the tension's resolved. And you see, the tension is the potential that creates the action, just like a pendulum. When there's no tension, it always comes to a rest. But when it starts off and you shift the ball, you know that it goes backwards and forwards until it loses momentum when it's back into equilibrium. So the third step of this journey is to get into the emotions of our end result, of our desired reality. And as I said in module 1, the importance of our mindset and how a positive mindset changes our view of the world. And as we move through the different modules, we learn about the gratitude, about bringing in fun and decluttering and all their effects on abundance. And we've today talked about the 3 levels of consciousness and how our self-conscious mind has a role in the present, and our unconscious mind is not only about feeling, but it's also our hard drive. And both of these come from a really subjective place. And science has shown when we visualize our end result, when we visualize that desired reality, we're training our self-conscious mind. And when we step into the feelings and emotions of our end result, we're training our unconscious and subconscious mind and how it will feel. And it's a continuous thing that we're doing. So every time, and which is why it's so important, that we write down what our choice is. We step into the feelings of it, what it looks like. In other words, we're giving those parts of ourselves that hold so much power over our life an experience of what it would be like when we achieve our desired reality, that end result. We're subjecting them to an experience that they can relate to and adopt, which is so important. It's like learning to walk, isn't it? We have to train our unconscious and self-conscious in how it is that we're going to be living. You have to be it to see it. And using neuro-emotional meditations allows us to create new emotional set points based on the person we want to be rather than the person you need to fix. And as we let go of our old identity, we step into a new identity, but we're still ourselves. We just come from a different perspective. And we also have to be aware of our current reality. We're not dismissing it or ignoring it. We're just allowing those parts of us to experience life in a different way. It's a bit like going to school and learning something new. Or like if you have to have an accident, you have to learn to walk again. We take those small steps to teach ourselves something that will become automatic in time as we master it. And one of the biggest things that we find, I think, is that we give up before we've even got there. And when we step into those emotions of that reality that we want to create, all our beautiful subpersonalities and aspects and beliefs, stories, emotions and behaviors come to the surface, letting us know rather, that they think it's not right for us. And really that's fantastic, because that's what we want. We want to acknowledge them. We want to love them and thank them for their diligence, for their dedication. And just let them, we're not going to destroy them, but we want to promote them into new roles in our consciousness. Because who doesn't love a promotion? And the next part of our journey is to decode those resistances and then recode them, leaving us with wisdom, knowledge, intuition to move forward and leave the pain and trauma behind. So what I want to do is share my screen, and I'm just going to reduce the size of this because it's a bit big. And you'll see the 5 steps in your workbook. So you can see that the 5-step matrix that I'm talking about is to choose a true goal, is to have a true choice, and then to learn how to align your target, that choice, with your end result and move forward with complete clarity and coming from a heart space, because you're in alignment with what it is. And then we want to create that structural tension and learn how to pull ourselves towards what we really want without internal struggle and with minimal effort. And we're not trying to fix anything or solve a problem. And then we get into the emotion of the end result. We learn how to create those new emotional set points based on the person we want to be, rather than the person we need to be. And there's a big difference between I need to be this sort of person to get this what I want, to this is a person I'm becoming. This is what I want. I want to be this person. And then we unplug, decode, and recode and replace those old emotional set points with new ones. And we step into our new reality with a much deeper understanding of what our limits are. We can recognize when we're falling back into those old habits. And the last thing, you can't be abundant and have a choice without taking aligned action. And we need to have that and create unparalleled momentum. And as we decode and recode, we're starting to remove that fear of getting it wrong, because we don't need it. We don't need it, do we? And so in step 3, I said that we need to understand our unconscious is just wanting to keep us safe and protect us from danger. And it does this by bringing knowingly or unknowingly thoughts, feelings, behaviors, and patterns that appear to sabotage everything that we're trying to do. And we have to look at where we're giving our power to. Is it to those unconscious beliefs? Is it to those part personalities and sabotaging identities? And what do we do about it? And the first thing is to acknowledge them. And then we want to decode and recode a new unconscious identity and replace the old habits, beliefs, and feelings with new ones. And step into that new reality with a laser focus and a deep understanding of our limits, as I said. And as we take ownership of what we've created, which is the current reality we're living in now, because we created it, and we're ready to create a new and different reality. We need to remember that we're always in creation, and what we focus on is what we create. Now, a rider on that is not everything that we focus on is what we're going to create. If you think about teenage boys and some of the things they get up to, they're not going to be creating that all their life, are they? So, just in reality, it's what we focus most on that we create. So what do we need to ask ourselves when we have that resistance? And we can ask the question, what resistance does my current reality have to this choice that I've made about how I want to be? What thoughts and feelings? So if I'm writing down what it is that I want, and I know when I do this with clients, we go through this whole exercise about what is in your heart, what it is, what does it look like, what does it feel like? How do you wake up in the morning? And we often get all this resistance, all these thoughts and feelings that come up. So you can ask yourself, what are the resistances? What reservations do I have? What inner conflicts? What judgments? What emotions are coming up? What stories? Like I've done this 10 times before and it's never worked. Stuff. I've done every course known to mankind, but here you are still not in an abundant life. Here you are still stuck. So obviously they worked really well, right? So we have to be honest with ourselves. And those sort of patterns are really our resistances, because when you're getting close to something, when you're going to have a breakthrough, the resistance is major. So how resistant out of 10 am I to having this choice, this desired reality? And what benefits does it give me? After all, I designed it, so I must have done it for a reason. So when we ask the question, what's in the way of me having what it is that I want, it pushes our resistance out into the active experience, that is, into our conscious awareness, ready for us to shift and change it. and get rid of it. And we can then connect with our superconscious to recode the instructions that it's giving to our unconscious mind. And after we connect and treat the current coding, we then visualize and experience our end result as if it's happening right now, and we install the emotions of that into our field. And we also collect information on the next step to take. What aligned action steps do I need to take? And this leads us to number 5, taking aligned action. And so as you dance through the cosmos of creation, we come along this step where the fabric of our thoughts and our reality intertwine. And as now we're free of resistance, we heed the call of the superconscious and we take action towards the birth of our creation. So here in this realm of manifestation, every action is a command. Every action is a command to our unconscious. Every step is a catalyst towards bringing your desires to life. And when the superconscious whispers to you and you listen with reverence, asking for the right action steps, the instructions, and receiving them with open arms, write them down. They're there as the keys to unlock the gates of abundance for you and your choice. And as we understand that we have to be in allowance of things to come forward to us, that we can't force the action, because if we force it, that leads to discordance and it stops the flow of coming into creation. So we have to have a state of allowance as well as taking positive action steps. There's always going to be steps that we need to take, but we don't want to force it. Because when we're in that state of allowance, we have a flow of inspiration. And inspiration can come from a comment that someone says, that come from a post that you've read, a book that you see on a shelf. It can come from all different places, not something that you have to think of. And one of the greatest things about on this journey and creating the choices is being in allowance of having that connection to all that is to give you the information that you want. And they can come from aha moments, as I said, or chance encounters with a stranger, or sitting having a cup of coffee and overhearing a comment, and you go, oh, that's it, that's what I need. But it's your openness that allows new innovative ways to emerge, ones that you never thought possible. So let your heart be free and allow the magic to unfold before your very eyes, because that's the magic of being a conscious creator. So your homework tonight, and tomorrow we're having a bonus session. I want you to prepare your choice. What is it that is your deepest desire? What's your choice that you want to behold on this mystical journey? What is it that you choose to have, to envisage, just because you can? Not because you want to fix or solve anything, but just because you can. I want you to write it down. I choose the end result of. It might be an easy, lucrative, fun business. It might be I choose a loving, supportive, synergistic relationship. Might be I choose to live in the home of my dreams. Might be I choose to live the life that I love. And so tomorrow we're going to go over those choices and do a recode and look at what are your resistances. And I love this part. It's so cool. So I want you to think about that. I'd love you if you would like to become one of my clients or join my Wake Up and Live masterclass, Momentum masterclass, to get deeper into learning about this mystical journey. Then please message me. We'll send you an email with the link so that you can book a call, which is free, so we can discuss where you want to go and what you want to be and do. And I will see you tomorrow. Thank you so much and enjoy the rest of your night, because the creation of 1,000 forests is just in one acorn. So let the trumpet sound in jubilation for your choices and where we're going and where we're going to be. It's going to be so exciting. So thank you, and talk to you tomorrow.